I'm Molly, 32 years old, and I've worked my entire life to build my successful real estate career. After 5 years with my incredible fiancé James, our dream wedding was finally happening. My younger sister Amanda and I have always had a complicated relationship, but I never imagined she would destroy my $5,000 wedding cake because I refused to buy her a condo. The entire room fell silent as the cake crashed to the floor, and in that moment, I had to decide how to respond. Before I tell you how I handled this disaster, let me know where you're watching from and hit that subscribe button if you've ever had to deal with toxic family drama. Growing up, our family dynamics were complicated from the start. Our parents divorced when I was 12, and Amanda was 7. As the older sister, I quickly stepped into a caretaker role while our mom worked long hours to keep us afloat financially. I learned responsibility early, making meals, helping Amanda with homework, and keeping our small apartment clean. Meanwhile, my childhood faded into the background as I became a mini adult. Despite these challenges, I studied hard, determined to create a better future for myself. When I graduated high school, I earned a full scholarship to college. Even with the scholarship, I worked 2 part-time jobs to cover my living expenses and books. I majored in business with a focus on real estate, fascinated by the potential to build wealth through property. Amanda's experience was entirely different. As the baby of the family, she received the attention and coddling I never did. Mom, perhaps feeling guilty about how much responsibility I had taken on, rarely said no to Amanda. If Amanda wanted new clothes, she got them. If she wanted to quit piano lessons after 2 weeks, no problem. If she didn't feel like doing chores, Mom would eventually do them herself. This pattern continued as we grew older. I worked hard through college, made connections, and landed an entry-level position at a respected real estate firm after graduation. I lived frugally, saved aggressively, and focused on building my client base. Amanda, however, drifted. She started college but dropped out after 3 semesters, claiming it wasn't the right fit. She cycled through retail jobs, often quitting when things got difficult, or a manager gave her feedback. Whenever she faced financial trouble, which was frequently, she'd call Mom or me for help. By 28, my hard work had paid off. I had established myself as a successful real estate agent specializing in luxury properties and purchased my first home, a modern townhouse in a desirable neighborhood. I felt proud of what I'd accomplished through determination and persistence. Meanwhile, Amanda at 23 was still living in our mom's apartment, working part-time at a coffee shop, and spending beyond her means. She had accumulated significant credit card debt, buying designer clothes, and taking weekend trips with friends. Whenever I suggested budgeting or career planning, she dismissed me as boring and judgmental. Our relationship grew increasingly strained. I loved my sister, but her constant requests for money, her lack of gratitude when I did help, and her refusal to take responsibility for her choices frustrated me deeply. Still, she was family, and I kept trying to maintain our relationship, always hoping she would eventually mature. Everything changed when I met James at a real estate investment seminar 3 years ago. He was 31, then successful in commercial property development, and immediately caught my attention with his thoughtful questions and warm smile. We connected over appetizers during the networking hour, and I was struck by how easily conversation flowed between us. James had his own story of overcoming obstacles. Raised by a single father who worked construction, he had paid his way through college and built his business from scratch. Our first date lasted 4 hours as we discovered shared values about hard work, financial responsibility, and building something meaningful. We both understood the value of $1 and the satisfaction of earning your success rather than having it handed to you. Over the next 3 years, our relationship deepened. James respected my independence and ambition, never threatened by my success. Instead, he celebrated my achievements and supported me through challenges. We became partners in the truest sense, making plans and building dreams together. When James proposed on our 3rd anniversary during a hike to a mountain overlook, where we could see the entire city, I didn't hesitate to say yes. He presented me with a beautiful but sensible engagement ring that perfectly matched my taste and values. The diamond wasn't enormous, but it was exactly what I wanted, something elegant I could wear every day without worry. We immediately began planning our wedding, setting a date for the following spring. We decided to save and pay for everything ourselves, refusing offers of financial help from James's father. This was our commitment to each other, and we wanted to enter marriage without financial obligations to anyone. Both being detail-oriented planners, we created spreadsheets for the budget, researched vendors thoroughly, and made thoughtful choices about where to splurge and where to save. One area where we decided to indulge was the wedding cake. I had always dreamed of a spectacular cake, something truly special and memorable. We commissioned a renowned pastry chef to create a 5-tier masterpiece incorporating elements that told our story, from the architectural details referencing our careers to the subtle mountain motif commemorating our engagement. At $5,000, it was a significant investment, but we both agreed it would be a stunning centerpiece for our reception. When I called Amanda to share our engagement news, her response was lukewarm at best. She asked about being a bridesmaid before I could even finish telling her the proposal story, and immediately turned the conversation to what dress she would wear. I tried not to let her reaction diminish my happiness. I asked her to be my maid of honor, hoping that involving her in the wedding might improve our relationship. She accepted with more enthusiasm than she'd shown for the engagement itself, and for a brief moment I was optimistic that planning the wedding together might bring us closer. 2 months before the wedding, when most of our planning was complete, Amanda showed up at my door unannounced. Her excited expression immediately put me on guard, as her version of good news often meant trouble for someone else. "I have amazing news," she announced, brushing past me into the living room without waiting for an invitation. "I found the perfect condo." I offered her a drink, genuinely pleased that she might be taking steps toward independence. "That's great, Amanda. Are you thinking about renting it?" She laughed as if I'd said something ridiculous. "No, silly. I'm going to buy it." "Well, you're going to buy it as your wedding gift to me." I nearly choked on my water. "What are you talking about?" Amanda pulled out her phone and showed me photos of a luxury condo in one of the most expensive neighborhoods in the city. "It's perfect. 2 bedrooms, amazing kitchen, rooftop pool, and it's only a few blocks from the university. I'm thinking about going back to school next year." "Amanda, that's a $250,000 property," I said, recognizing the building immediately. "James and I can't afford to buy you a condo." Her smile faltered. "But you're a real estate agent. Don't you get discounts or something? And you and James are both doing so well." I explained that we had been saving for our future, planning for a house where we could start a family, setting aside money for eventual college funds for children we hope to have. I told her I'd be happy to help her find an affordable rental or work with her on a plan to improve her credit and save for a down payment over time. "You just don't want me to have nice things," Amanda snapped, her pleasant demeanor evaporating instantly. "You're going to have everything, Molly. A husband, a perfect life, and I'm stuck working at a coffee shop and living with Mom." "That's your choice, Amanda," I said firmly. "I've offered to help you find a better job many times. I've offered to help you create a budget and savings plan, but I can't just buy you a condo." Her eyes narrowed. "You've always been selfish. You think you're so much better than me because you have money. Well, some sister you turned out to be." She stormed out, slamming the door so hard that the pictures on my wall rattled. I stood there in shock, trying to process what had just happened. Had my sister really expected me to spend our entire savings money that represented years of hard work and sacrifice to buy her a luxury condo as a wedding gift? When I told James about the encounter later that evening, he was as baffled as I was. "That's completely unreasonable," he said. "Does she have any idea what it takes to save that kind of money?" "Apparently not," I sighed, "and now she's furious with me for saying no." James pulled me into a hug. "You did the right thing. We can't start our marriage by emptying our savings for someone who hasn't shown any responsibility with money." I nodded against his shoulder, but couldn't shake the feeling that Amanda's anger would cause problems as the wedding approached. The following weeks proved my concerns correct. Amanda's attitude shifted from merely difficult to actively hostile. She was supposed to help with various wedding preparations, but either showed up late, canceled at the last minute, or arrived with a visibly bad attitude. For the bridesmaid dress fitting, she arrived 45 minutes late, complained about the color I had chosen, and suggested the style made her look fat. The seamstress exchanged uncomfortable glances with me as Amanda dramatically sighed and rolled her eyes throughout the appointment. When we met with the florist to finalize bouquet details, Amanda criticized my choice of flowers as boring and basic. She suggested exotic blooms that would have doubled our flower budget, then acted offended when I declined her suggestions. The bridal shower, organized by my future mother-in-law and maid of honor from college, should have been a joyful occasion. Amanda arrived late, brought no gift, and spent most of the event texting on her phone. When asked to participate in one of the games, she muttered something about stupid wedding traditions, loud enough for several guests to hear. Behind the scenes, Amanda was even busier. I started getting calls from relatives asking if everything was okay between us. Apparently, Amanda had been telling family members that I had changed since getting engaged, that money and status had gone to my head, and that I cared more about impressing James's wealthy friends than my own family. Mom called me one evening, her voice hesitant. "Honey, I know this is your special time, but could you maybe try to include Amanda more? She feels left out and hurt." "Mom, I've tried," I explained, frustration evident in my voice. "I asked her to be my maid of honor. I've included her in every planning session, but she's been difficult at every turn, and now she's spreading rumors about me to the family." "She's your little sister, Molly," Mom said, falling back on the same reasoning she'd used throughout our childhood. "Sometimes you need to be the bigger person." After we hung up, I broke down in tears. James found me sitting on our bedroom floor, wedding planning binder open beside me, crying quietly. "This should be the happiest time of our lives," I sobbed as he sat beside me. "But Amanda is determined to make it miserable." James wiped my tears away gently. "Don't let her ruin this for us. Focus on what matters, the beginning of our life together." I nodded, grateful for his steadying presence. The next day, I saw that Amanda had posted a thinly veiled reference to me on social media, something about wealthy relatives who are too stingy to help family. Several family members had liked the post. Despite all this, I decided to keep Amanda as my maid of honor. Removing her from the wedding party would only escalate the family drama, and I desperately wanted our special day to be about love and joy, not conflict. I hoped that once the wedding arrived, she would set aside her resentment and celebrate with us. I couldn't have been more wrong. Our wedding day dawned clear and beautiful. The ceremony was scheduled for late afternoon at a restored historic mansion with magnificent gardens. James and I had chosen the venue for its elegant simplicity and warm atmosphere, perfect for the intimate celebration we'd planned with 100 of our closest friends and family. The ceremony itself was everything I'd dreamed of. Walking down the aisle toward James, seeing his eyes fill with tears as he watched me approach, exchanging our carefully written vows, all of it felt magical and profound. For those precious moments, I forgot about the tension with Amanda and was simply present in the joy of marrying the love of my life. The cocktail hour and dinner went smoothly. The food was delicious, the string quartet played beautifully, and our guests seemed to be enjoying themselves. Amanda was quiet but not openly hostile, and I dared to hope we'd make it through the evening without incident. Then came the traditional speeches. James's best man gave a heartfelt, funny toast that had everyone laughing and raising their glasses in celebration. When it was Amanda's turn, I held my breath. She approached the microphone, champagne glass in hand, wearing a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. Her speech started pleasantly enough with anecdotes from our childhood and generic well wishes. But as she continued, her tone shifted subtly. "It's amazing to see my sister so happy today." She said, her voice sweet, but with an undercurrent I recognized as dangerous. Molly has always known exactly what she wanted and exactly how to get it. Some might even say she's ruthless about pursuing her goals. She paused, letting the word ruthless hang in the air. But that determination has certainly paid off, hasn't it? Just look at this gorgeous wedding. Look at her gorgeous husband and their gorgeous life. I felt James's hand tighten around mine under the table. The guests shifted uncomfortably, picking up on the tension but unsure how to respond. Amanda raised her glass. To Molly and James, may you always get exactly what you want. The words were right, but the delivery made them sound like a curse rather than a blessing. People applauded politely, and the DJ quickly transitioned to the cake cutting to move past the awkward moment. James and I stood behind our magnificent cake, a 5-tier work of art that had been delivered and assembled just before the reception. We posed for photos, cut the first slice together, and fed each other small bites as tradition dictated. As guests mingled and servers prepared to cut the remaining cake for serving, I was pulled away by my aunt who wanted to introduce me to a cousin who couldn't attend the ceremony. I was chatting with them near the dance floor when I heard a collective gasp from across the room. Turning around, I saw our beautiful wedding cake tilting precariously before crashing to the floor in a spectacular mess of frosting, fondant, and cake. Standing beside the ruined masterpiece was Amanda, hand over her mouth, in an unconvincing display of shock. "Oh my God!" she exclaimed loudly. "I'm so clumsy, I just bumped the table by accident." The room fell completely silent. Every eye turned to me, waiting to see how the bride would react to her $5,000 cake lying destroyed on the reception hall floor. I stood frozen, unable to process what I was seeing. Then I heard it. As Amanda turned away from the cake to face her audience, she whispered just loud enough for me and a few nearby guests to hear, "You should have bought me that condo." In that moment, everything became crystal clear. This wasn't an accident. This was deliberate sabotage, Amanda's revenge for my refusal to buy her a $250,000 property. Time seemed to slow down as I processed what had just happened. The room remained silent, tension thick in the air. I could feel everyone watching, waiting to see if I would break down in tears or explode in anger. Amanda stood by the destroyed cake, her fake expression of horror not quite hiding the satisfaction in her eyes. Something shifted inside me. This was my wedding day, a celebration of love and commitment with the man who respected and supported me. I refused to let Amanda's pettiness ruin it. I walked calmly across the room until I stood directly in front of my sister. When I spoke, my voice was clear and steady enough to carry throughout the silent reception hall. "That wasn't an accident, was it, Amanda?" Her eyes widened, not expecting direct confrontation. "Of course it was. I just tripped and—" "No," I interrupted. "You didn't trip. You deliberately pushed over our wedding cake because I wouldn't buy you a condo." Gasps and murmurs spread through the crowd. Amanda's face flushed red. I think it's time everyone knew the truth. I continued addressing not just Amanda, but all our guests. 2 months ago, my sister demanded that I buy her a $250,000 luxury condo as a wedding gift. When I explained that James and I needed those savings for our future, she decided to punish me. I turned to face our guests directly. "What you may not know is that I've helped Amanda financially for years. I've loaned her money she never repaid. I've covered her rent when she spent her paycheck on designer clothes. I've used my professional connections to help her get jobs. She quickly quit when she found them too challenging." Amanda's expression shifted from shock to anger. "Stop it, Molly. You're embarrassing yourself." "No, Amanda. For once you're going to face consequences for your actions," I replied firmly. "This is the last time you will use my love for you as a weapon against me. I'm done enabling behavior that hurts us both." I turned to her, my voice softening slightly but remaining resolute. "I think you should leave now." "You can't kick me out of your wedding," she protested, looking around for support. James stepped forward to stand beside me. "Yes, she can, and I support her completely." One by one, my bridesmaids moved to stand with us, forming a unified front. Even our mother, who had always made excuses for Amanda, remained seated, her expression troubled, but making no move to intervene. Amanda looked around, realizing she had no allies in the room. "Fine," she snapped. "Enjoy your perfect wedding, but you'll regret treating me this way." As she stormed toward the exit, I called after her. "By the way, Amanda, there's something you should know." She paused and looked back. I smiled. "I ordered a backup cake. After years of dealing with your unpredictable behavior, I've learned to prepare for the worst while hoping for the best." On cue, the catering staff wheeled in a smaller but equally beautiful cake from the kitchen. It wasn't as elaborate as the original, but it was lovely and more than sufficient for our guests. A spontaneous round of applause broke out. James wrapped his arm around my waist and kissed my temple. "I am so proud to be your husband," he whispered. For the rest of the evening, guests approached us to express their support. Many shared their own stories of difficult family dynamics, thanking me for handling the situation with grace and strength. What could have been a disaster instead became a moment of connection and authenticity. As James and I danced our first dance as husband and wife, I felt lighter than I had in years, as if I'd finally set down a burden I'd been carrying since childhood. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is set clear boundaries even with family, especially with family. In the weeks following our wedding, James and I enjoyed a blissful honeymoon in Bali, deliberately disconnecting from phones and email to focus on each other and the beginning of our marriage. The cake incident, while dramatic, had ultimately brought us closer together and reaffirmed that we were true partners who would face life's challenges as a team. Upon our return, I discovered that Amanda had moved out of our mother's apartment and was temporarily staying with a friend. Mom reported that Amanda had been unusually quiet and withdrawn since the wedding. I felt a twinge of sadness, but remained convinced that establishing clear boundaries had been necessary. 3 months after the wedding, I received an email from Amanda. I almost deleted it unread, but curiosity won out. "Dear Molly," it began. "I've spent weeks trying to figure out how to write this. I'm sorry. What I did at your wedding was inexcusable. I've been thinking about why I did it, and the truth is, I've been jealous of you for years. Everything seems to come easily to you while I struggle with even basic adulting. Seeing you build this perfect life with James made me feel like an even bigger failure. That doesn't justify what I did, but I wanted you to understand. I miss my big sister. If you're willing, I'd like to talk." I read the email several times, emotions swirling. James suggested that I take time to process my feelings before responding. A week later, I agreed to meet Amanda at a neutral coffee shop. When she arrived, I was struck by how different she looked. The designer clothes and perfectly styled hair were gone, replaced by a simple ponytail and casual attire. She seemed smaller somehow, less aggressive. "Thank you for meeting me," she said quietly as she sat down. "I'm listening," I replied, neither warm nor cold. Amanda took a deep breath. "I've been seeing a therapist since the wedding. She's helping me realize how toxic my behavior has been, not just to you, but to myself. I've been defining my worth by what I own and how I look, not who I am or what I contribute." I nodded but remained silent, waiting for her to continue. "I blamed you for having what I wanted instead of recognizing that you worked for everything you have," she continued. "The truth is, I was terrified of putting in that kind of effort and still failing." "Amanda," I said finally, "I've always believed in your potential. What hurt wasn't that you asked for help, but that you expected me to solve your problems for you instead of helping yourself." She nodded, eyes downcast. "I understand that now. I'm not asking for money or things, but I would like your advice if you're willing to give it. I want to make changes, real ones this time." Over the next hour, we talked more honestly than we had in years. I explained that I couldn't immediately trust her again, but I was open to rebuilding our relationship slowly. Instead of giving her money, I offered to help her create a realistic budget, improve her resume, and practice for job interviews. She accepted, seeming genuinely grateful for guidance rather than a handout. In the months that followed, our relationship gradually transformed. Amanda found a full-time administrative position at a local business, moved into a modest apartment with a roommate, and began taking evening classes to finish her degree. She stuck to her budget, even when it meant saying no to nights out with friends that she couldn't afford. The most significant change was in her attitude. She stopped expecting others to solve her problems and started taking responsibility for her choices. When she struggled, she asked for advice rather than bailouts. 1 year after the wedding cake incident, Amanda invited James and me to dinner at her apartment. As we were leaving, she handed me an envelope. Inside was a photo of a small studio condo and a pre-approval letter from a mortgage lender. "I've been saving for the down payment," she said proudly. "It's not fancy, but it's within my budget and it's mine. Well, it will be after closing next month. I couldn't have done it without your guidance, but I did do it myself." I hugged her tightly, genuinely proud of how far she'd come. "This means more than you know." That night, reflecting on our journey, I realized that sometimes the most valuable gift isn't what someone wants, but what they truly need. By refusing to buy Amanda a condo, I had ultimately given her something far more precious: the opportunity to discover her own strength and capability. True love, whether for family partners or friends, sometimes means setting boundaries that allow people to grow. It means believing in someone's potential enough to let them struggle and find their own way. Have you ever had to set difficult boundaries with someone you love? Share your experience in the comments below. And if this story resonated with you, please hit that like button and subscribe to hear more real-life stories about navigating complex relationships. Thank you for listening to my journey. And remember, sometimes the most loving thing you can do is trust someone to find their own path.